could be in danger because of the rhetoric?
Her life is in danger? Who's that?
Marjorie Taylor Greene, he says.
Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't think her life is in danger. Frankly, I don't think anybody cares about her.
Hi, everyone. I've always represented the common American man and woman as a member of the House of Representatives, which is why I've always been despised in Washington, D.C., and just never fit in. Americans are used by the political industrial complex of both political parties, election cycle after election cycle, in order to elect whichever side can convince Americans to hate the other side more. And the results are always the same. No matter which way the political pendulum swings, Republican or Democrat, nothing ever gets better for the common American man or woman. The debt goes higher, corporate and global interests remain Washington's sweethearts, American jobs continue to be replaced, whether it's by illegal labor or legal labor by visas or just shipped overseas. Small businesses continue to be swallowed by big corporations. Americans' hard-earned tax dollars always fund foreign wars, foreign aid, and foreign interest. And the spending power of the dollar continues to decline. The average American family can no longer survive on a single breadwinner's income, as both parents have to work in order to simply survive. And today, many in my children's generation feel hopeless for their future and don't think they will ever realize the American dream. And that breaks my heart. I ran for Congress in 2020 and have fought every single day believing that Make America Great Again meant America first. I have one of the most conservative voting records in Congress, defending the First Amendment, Second Amendment, unborn babies because I believe God creates life at conception, and I love to fight for the little guy. Strong, safe borders, I have fought hard for that. I've fought against COVID tyrannical insanity and mandated mass vaccinations, and I've never voted to fund foreign wars with your hard-earned tax dollars. However, with almost 1 year into our majority, the legislature has been mostly sidelined. We endured an 8-week shutdown, wrongly, resulting in the House not working for the entire time, and we are entering campaign season, which means all courage leaves and only safe campaign re-election mode is turned on in the House of Representatives. During the longest shutdown in our nation's history, I raged against my own speaker and my own party for refusing to proactively work diligently to pass a plan to save Americans' health care and protect Americans from outrageous, overpriced, and unaffordable health insurance policies. The House should have been in session working every day to fix this disaster. But instead, America was force-fed disgusting political drama once again from both sides of the aisle on television every single day. My bills, which reflect many of President Trump's executive orders, like calling for a new census counting Americans only to draw new districts, making English the official language of the U.S., making it a felony to medically trans a minor, and other bills like eliminating capital gains taxes on the sale of your primary home and eliminating H-1B visas. Just sit. They all sit collecting dust. That's how it is for most members of Congress bills. The Speaker never brings them to the floor for a vote. Many common Americans are no longer easily convinced by paid political propaganda spokespersons and consultants on TV and paid shills on social media obediently serving with cult-like conviction to force others to swallow the political party talking points. Because they know how much credit card debt they have, they know how much their bills have gone up over the past 5 years, they actually do their own grocery shopping and know food costs too much, their rent has increasingly gone up and up, they have been outbid by corporate asset managers too many times when they put in an offer to buy a house, they have been laid off after being forced to train their visa-holding replacement. The college degree they were told to earn only left them in debt with no big six-figure salary. They see more homeless people than ever on their own community streets. They can't afford health insurance or practically any insurance, and they just aren't stupid. These are the people I represent and love because that is who all of my family and friends are, common Americans. I've been blessed to represent the 14th District of Georgia for 5 years. The district is filled with some of the most wonderful, kind-hearted, God-fearing, patriotic, hardworking people you will ever meet. good, regular, common Americans. I've worked hard to bring taxpayer dollars back home to help district needs. I impeached Biden's Secretary of Homeland after watching my constituents die as he facilitated dangerous open border invasion into America. And I led the effort to defund hard-left politically biased NPR and PBS and the corrupt USAID, and I did that as chair of the DOJ subcommittee. I have fought harder than almost any other elected Republican to elect Donald Trump and Republicans to power. I traveled the country for years. I spent millions of my own money. I missed precious time with my family that I can never get back. And I showed up in places like outside the New York courthouse in Collect Pond Park against a raging leftist mob as Trump faced Democrat lawfare. Meanwhile, most of the establishment Republicans who secretly hate him and who stabbed him in the back and never defended him against anything have all been welcomed in right after the election. And I will never forget the day I had to leave my mother's side as my father had brain surgery to remove cancerous tumors in order to fly to Washington, D.C. to defend President Trump and vote no against the Democrats' second impeachment in 2021. My poor father and my poor mother, it was way too much for all of us. Through it all, I never changed or went back on my campaign promises and only disagreed in a few areas, like my stance against H-1Bs replacing American jobs, AI state moratoriums, debt for life 50-year mortgage scams, standing strongly against all involvement in foreign wars, and demanding the release of the Epstein files. Other than that, my voting record has been solidly with my party and the president. Loyalty should be a two-way street, and we should be able to vote our conscience and represent our district's interests because our job title is literally representative. America first should mean America first and only Americans first, with no other foreign country ever being attached to America first in our halls of government. Standing up for American women who were raped at 14 years old, trafficked and used by rich, powerful men should not result in me being called a traitor and threatened by the President of the United States, whom I fought for. However, while yes, hurtful, my heart remains filled with joy, my life is filled with happiness, and my true convictions remain unchanged because my self-worth is not defined by a man, but instead by God who created everything in existence. You see, I have never valued power, titles, or attention in spite of all the wrong assumptions about me. I do not cling to those things because they are meaningless and empty traps that hold too many people in Washington. I believe in term limits and do not think Congress should be a lifelong career or an assisted living facility. My only goal and desire has ever been to hold the Republican Party accountable for the promises it makes to the American people and put America first. And I have fought against Democrats' damaging policies like the Green New Deal, wide open, deadly, unsafe border policies, and the trans agenda on children and against women. With that has brought years of non-stop, never-ending personal attacks, death threats, lawfare, ridiculous slander and lies about me that most people could never withstand even for a single day. It has been unfair and wrong, not only to me, but especially to my family, but it's been wrong to my district as well. I have too much self-respect and dignity. I love my family way too much, and I do not want my sweet district to have to endure a hurtful and hateful primary against me by the president that we all fought for, only to fight and win my election while Republicans will likely lose the midterms, and in turn be expected to defend the president against impeachment after he hatefully dumped tens of millions of dollars against me and tried to destroy me. It's all so absurd and completely unserious. I refuse to be a battered wife, hoping it all goes away and gets better. If I am cast aside by the president and the MAGA political machine and replaced by neocons, big pharma, big tech, military-industrial war complex, foreign leaders, and the elite donor class that can never ever relate to real Americans, then many common Americans have been cast aside and replaced as well. There is no plan to save the world or a 4D chess game being played. When common American people realize and understand that the political industrial complex of both parties is ripping this country apart, that not one elected leader like me is able to stop Washington's machine from gradually destroying our country, and instead the reality is that they, common Americans, the people, possess the real power over Washington, then I'll be here by their side to rebuild it. Until then, I'm going back to the people that I love, to live my life to the fullest as I always have, and I look forward to a new path ahead. I'll be resigning from office with my last day being January 5th, 2026, and I look forward to seeing many of you again sometime in the future. May God bless you all, and may God bless you.
It's fun to stay at the
So did you guys see all of the female-dominated professions that will no longer be considered professional starting in 2026 summertime? And yes, there is a list. So if you went to school to be a nurse practitioner or an advanced nurse practitioner or a physical therapist or a teacher, which is a really big one, there's a lot of other ones that are on the list that are very much so female-dominated spaces. They are saying that you are no longer a professional anymore. Your degree means nothing. All the people who have gone to school for these things and worked their butt off for 4 years or 6 years, it doesn't even matter anymore because they are changing the whole system. And this is just the start of Project 2025. I do find it weird that they're only choosing the ones that women dominate. I find that really strange because it seems like to me, they are trying to take a lot of steps backward. If you are a woman and you have gone to school for this or are going to school for this, I would definitely look into this and probably raise hell. This is not okay. But you know what's weird? They have taught us what to do and how to do it and to trust in the system for so long. And then when you actually grow up and you do it, they flip the whole system. That's just what they do. They're evil people.
When you think it couldn't get any worse, American nurses, you in danger, girl. The Department of Education just made a massive change that is going to cost you thousands, maybe tens of thousands of dollars. Under President Trump's big, beautiful bill, this act, the definition of professional degree has been revamped. And you know, we just got left off the list. This isn't about titles. This is about excluding nursing graduate students who could lose access to specific federal loans and loan forgiveness programs that were previously available to professional degrees. I'm sure this reinforces the stereotype that nursing isn't a real profession, and this couldn't come at a worse time. This is going to make the nursing shortage more catastrophic if people can't afford the schooling. So I don't understand what is happening out there because, again, we talk about the nursing shortage and we say, you know what, there's not a shortage of bodies, but a shortage of respect. And if this isn't a slap in the face, then I don't know what is. So, nurses in America, what are you going to do about this? And nurses in Canada, don't be fooled that this can't happen here too.
How much is it?
22,000 円です。
Quite pricey, but I'll take it anyway.
あ、おかえりなさい。あなた、どうにする？お風呂にする？それとも私？もう朝ですよ。起きてください。もう腹減った？ちょっと待ってくださいね。はい、お弁当。気をつけてね。寒いですか？もう24時間経ってるから、22,000円もいらない。Will you be my real husband?
You're beautiful. Look at those eyes. Uh-oh. You're his wife, huh? Okay, message received. I'm gonna back up.
Will be mine?
everything.
Everything the light touches. What about that shadowy place?
That's beyond our borders. You must never go there, Simba.
But I thought a king can do whatever he wants.
Oh,
Well, as you know, I'm always ready to report on Passport Bro News. And just apparently 2 days ago, this news story popped up. Now, here's the problem though. This story was published on November 21st, 2025. I'm just seeing it right now. It's kind of weird because even with all the AI that we have that recommends things to you, my AI has not figured out that I'm interested in seeing these stories as they come. Now, I'm going to make this kind of short. I'm not going to make this too long because I just published like a 3.5 hour long video. See, this is the reason why I have this iPhone 2 terabyte 17 Pro Max, because like I'm making videos as long as Lord of the Rings movies. And the thing about it is I still have more than like 600 gigabytes left. And when I erase everything that I've made, I'll be right back to like over a terabyte. That's a hell of a lot of storage space for a cell phone. It really is. And in fact, today I went and I got a 4 terabyte SSD drive so that I could put games on it from my new computer. And right now that brings the total to 8 terabytes. And my drives, like I can put another 2 M.2 NV, what are those things? M.2 SSDs in there. And I could also put another SATA drive in there. So the way I see it is this computer, since I'm going to have this thing for about 10 years, I should be able to run, I should be able to run 20 terabytes of SSD in there. And each SSD is like $200. So, as prices come down after the RAM craze is over, I'm definitely going to pump up my storage space. Absolutely. Now, I know you want me to get to the story, but I like deviating a little bit so I could tell my story, because my story is more important than this bullshit. So anyway, from mail order brides to passport bros, the international dating industry often sells traditional gender roles. Now, here's the thing. I am simultaneously crossing this story and juxtaposing with the fact that the Trump administration, which is currently running the Department of Education, has basically said that most of these degrees that these women here have been getting, that they're so proud of, that they've been using to hold themselves above men, they're basically saying these aren't professional degrees. So, yeah, that's going to be in the background, and I want you to think about that while I'm reading the story. Because, see, that actually happened about a week ago, but I didn't cover it because I really just didn't feel like covering it, and I felt it was important to juxtapose that to this. So I need you to understand something. First of all, these foreign women, they are highly educated, believe it or not. These foreign women in these foreign countries, they go to school, they are taught English for the most part, especially let's say the Philippines or Thailand, South Korea, Japan, China. These foreign countries, they teach their kids English because they know that English is the trade language, and they understand that if these kids are going to grow up and get jobs, they understand that most of them are going to be service sector. English, they learn very, very well. That's why most of our calling centers that you see now are Philippines, sometimes India, but most of them are shifting towards the Philippines and parts of Southeast Asia. They learn English very, very well. When they go to school, they're getting computer degrees. They're getting degrees in networking, and they're getting C+ and programming degrees. Most of my Chinese friends, they went to school. They learned computer programming, computer arts. These women are not dumb. Like, I know American women have painted them as poor and uneducated, but the reality is these women have degrees. What they don't do with their degrees is they don't try to hold it up like it's some type of self-aggrandizing award that says that, yeah, I'm better than a man. That's what they don't do. These women in those other countries, if they do have a degree, they use it to get whatever job they can get, but they never, ever express the level of ego that these women here in America do. They never actually pretend that they're above men. They don't do that. They get their degrees, they go to work, They bring home money for their family, and that's it. But what they're not doing is they're not saying, oh, well, I have a PhD, so I'm smarter than, my husband. Or and even when they are educated more than their husbands, they don't hold that up and try to pretend like they're better than their husbands. What you'll also not see is they don't cheat on their husbands because they think that they're superior and that they can get away with it. First of all, in the Philippines, you ain't cheating on your husband because if your husband catches you and the other guy, on Filipino law, it's okay to terminate both of you. So they're not playing that game down there. See, only in America, has this thing about crimes of passion gotten so out of hand that, the men flip out when they see these women messing with these other dudes. Then they end up going to jail behind it. Not in the Philippines. The Philippines, the husband can take you both out, and he's not going to jail. That's on their laws. That's their books. So I just want you to understand, it's not the same thing here that it is over there. It's just not. But what I'm trying to say is they get along a lot differently in some of these countries because it doesn't matter how educated you are, the women still are working as helpmates towards their husbands. My grandparents, my grandmother was more educated than my grandfather was. He ran a train and she was professional English teacher. And the thing about it is, they were maybe 1 or 2 generations removed from slavery. So the reality is they were working together to build a family. But now what you have is you got people who are not working together. You got people who are playing a superiority game. And basically it goes like this. So you got a woman and a guy together, and chances are, the dude is in some kind of vocational tech. Maybe he's a plumber, electrician, or something like that. But this chick is in school driving up college bills, getting a PhD or whatever it is. And once she gets that degree, she feels that she's above him because she's got to walk around and everybody's got to call her doctor, but her husband's a plumber or electrician or something else, and he's not a doctor. Because that's the only understand something. The only reason why these women are getting all these degrees is because they're forcing you to call them something that they really aren't. They're forcing you to call them doctor. Listen, if you get an MD, then you're a doctor. If you're a doctor in astrophysics, like Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson, then you're a doctor. But if you're getting some bullshit doctorate in education, doctorates or something like that, you went to some school, or some of y'all go online because you'll get it the cheap way. You ain't no real doctor. I'm sorry. And some of them, they get it because they want to force you to have to call them a title that they really don't deserve. And I'm just saying, if you're in science, technology, engineering, or math, you're a real doctor. Psychology, I'm not feeling that because psychology is not really a science simply because you can't use the scientific method to test it. You can't test psychology so much in a lab. The human brains between people are different. So nothing that you come up with is going to stand up. It's a behavioral science. We'll call it that. But I don't really think I should have to call you doctor just because you're a head psychologist. I'm sorry. I just don't think so. If you're a lawyer, you get a Juris Doctorate. Most lawyers are not referred to as doctors. They're usually not. But a jurisprudence doctorate, I don't know how I feel about that one. But the way I do see it is if you're a medical technician and you become a doctor that way, or if you're a high-ranking scientist, theoretical physics, PhD, oh yeah, I'll call you doctor. But as for these women who are getting their doctorates in feminist studies and shit, and liberal arts, I'm sorry, I'm just not doing it. You see where I'm going with this. But anyway, as far as the traditional gender roles of this story, I was watching one of these other YouTubers, More to Life, And he had in the video, there was a woman saying that, the Trump administration and these Republicans, all they want for women is to force them back into the kitchen, force them back having babies. Yeah, that very well might be true. I'm not going to doubt that that's what's on their minds. I already know that that's not going to happen. The women have already said, yeah, we're not going back to the kitchen. And furthermore, let me also throw this in here before I get to the story. I'm pretty sure that in 2028, a Democrat is going to be president. I'm very certain of that. See, these right-wingers want to think that we're going to keep going the Trump path. That's not going to happen. Once Trump is gone, he's gone for good. Trumpism might stick around, but the biggest problem with Trump is nobody else is going to be allowed to get away with the bullshit he's getting away with. The Supreme Court is scared of him. Everybody else acts like they're scared of him and they bow the knee. But the reality is, ain't nobody else the Republicans got is going to be able to get away with this shit. Not only that, his policies are not working. I put in my community chat the number of sectors of the American economy that are absolutely in recession. But what this government does is lies about the numbers. So what they do is and Trump already showed us, he showed us this last 2 months ago. If you don't give him the numbers he wants, he fires you, and then he gets somebody else to finagle the numbers and bring him the numbers that he thinks are good. Because as far as he's concerned, he's doing great. But if you bring him anything that shows him he's not doing great, you're fired. That's how it works. Now, there are several sectors of the U.S. economy that are in recession. Women are getting hit the hardest. Just like COVID, when they laid everybody off or they sent everybody to stay home and they said, don't come to the office, most of these women are sitting around in these jobs like it's one of them television shows like Sex and the City, and they think they're Terry Bradshaw. They're the star of their own freaking TV series. It's these easy-ass jobs where you're sitting in an office dressing hot and coming in wearing high heels and shit, and you're just sitting in an office chilling. The men are out there doing the dangerous, difficult, and dirty jobs. The men are the ones laying pipe. The men are the ones laying electric wires that are 10,000 volts. The men are the one out there building buildings. You go to a construction site, you never, ever see women doing anything dangerous, difficult, or dirty. It's the men doing that stuff. The women are just standing there holding the sign that says, slow down. Excuse me, sir, slow down, slow down. Excuse me, slow down, slow down. You're moving a little too fast. That's what they're doing. The men are the ones with the jackhammers. The men are the ones with those big circular saws that are cutting through the ground. I ain't never seen a woman with one of those. You get my drift. You know what I'm saying. So when it comes to the layoffs, men are safe. Men can walk around. They can be vagrants. They can find a job. If there's demolition to be done, men can go right up to the foreman and say, hey, foreman, I want to do some work here. I want to do demolition. And if you're lucky enough to be in a state where it's not unionized, you can get right onto that job and you can get paid by Thursday. The women are there holding the sign. The men are there with their shirt off, sweating with a shovel, and they're digging up oil and coal and shit. And you know what I'm saying. I can't make this shit up. It's true. If you can even show me a single organization where it's dominated by women who go around building buildings by hand and laying pipe and installing electricity and all that shit, I'll shut up. But the simple fact is, I know that you can't. Because I know that you can't. So it's an easy win. In fact, there were some women who got together to build a bridge and that shit collapsed. So I rest my case. So anyway, what does it say? This story was supplied by The Conversation for AP customers. The Associated Press does not guarantee the content. Good for you. The Conversation 15 years ago, when I started studying the international dating industry, few people took the subject seriously. The term mail order bride was treated as a punchline, something outdated associated with lonely men and poor women who migrated from Eastern Europe. Fast forward to today, 2025, you got these Ukrainian women coming over here and they getting jobs in the fish, the fish processing center in Alaska. And they're quiet and silent now, but eventually you're going to start to see a lot of them, because right now, they blend right in. They look like regular white women. They blend right in, and they're moving them to parts of this country where there's shortages. The refugees, anyway, because see, a lot of the Ukrainians are still over there, but the refugees from that Donbass region that Russia just took over, yeah, they're coming to places like Alaska and everything. But something outdated associated with lonely men and poor women who migrated from Eastern Europe, Asia, or other places to meet their new husbands in the United States. So when we had those wars, Vietnam, the Korean War, after post World War II Japan, mail order bride was like a derogatory term. But the reality is you can't do that anymore, simply because now they have a very strict K-1 visa process. They call it the 90-day fiancé visa. So basically you spend somewhere around between $3,000 and $5,000, and you have to go to her country first. You got to meet her over there. You have to spend time with her over there. Then when you apply for the K-1 visa and you claim that you want to get married to this woman, she has to do an interview. You have to do an interview. And if you do get the visa, she gets to come over here. She stays with you for up to 90 days. And if you get married, then she gets to stay here permanently. If you don't get married, her shit gets packed up and she gets shipped right back out, and she has to go back over there to her country. So there's no such thing as no mail order bride no more. In the old days, it used to be pen pals and you could meet women and everything, but now that's dead because of so many bride schemes that have come up. So that's something that women like try to make fun of men, but the reality is they can talk as much as they want. The men are going to win because the men can continue to reproduce up until they're dead, and all they got to do is have enough money to be able to support themselves and a younger wife, and they're going to get younger wives. And it's just that simple. It's just that simple. What is this? But I've seen firsthand how ideas about gender, intimacy, and global mobility have shifted. In 2025, a man going abroad to look for love might call himself a passport bro and celebrate his lifestyle on TikTok. The new generation of young men may have rebranded international dating, but they reflect an age-old theme. Social and economic changes shape how people negotiate love and labor across borders. As I explore in my 2025 book, Economies of Gender, in a chaotic world, some men and women turn to traditional gender roles as a source of seeming stability, and that often leads them abroad. First of all, turning to traditional gender roles ensures stability. If you're a woman and you somehow are able to earn a lot of money, yeah, you have economic stability. But now your problem is, how do you get the man that you're looking for when chances are you've priced yourself out of the market because you have so much money that any man who would be with you is going to feel like you feel that you're superior to him. So what you probably find is that some of these women, what they'll do is they'll hide their money. They don't want the man to know how much money they have, and that's probably the best strategy. So this way, they have money hidden on the side, and that money is a rainy day fund just in case something happens and the marriage fails for whatever reason. The problem is nowadays you can't hide your money because of taxes, and when you go into that CPA's office, he's going to let your husband know that you're loaded. And if you file jointly, he's going to find out. He's going to wait a minute, this bitch got thousands of millions of dollars and shit. She didn't tell me. Yeah, you can't really hide your money. So the simple reality is, for those few women that are super rich, it's not easy for them. It's not easy for them. So, some of them try to get toy boys. They try to get younger men. But for the most part, if they're unable to bear children, it's like the younger men ain't really hanging around too long because, they'll have some fun. They'll have some horizontal poker with you. But once they realize, like, wait a minute, she can't produce any children, it's like, I'm going to go cheat with this other chick. Then next thing you know, the relationship falls apart. Where's the rest of the story? It says the term mail order bride dates back to the 19th century when so-called frontier brides advertised themselves in newspapers with single men in the American West. After the Civil War, when large numbers of men had died on the East Coast, some women saw migrating to the frontier to marry someone sight unseen as a way to secure stability. That narrative still lingers today in Western novels and films. The modern international matchmaking industry, however, took shape in the 1970s when catalogs of mostly Filipino women's photos and addresses were sold to American men. After being pen pals, men would travel to the Philippines to meet and decide whether they wanted to get married. Some scholars consider this a form of human trafficking. Well, guess what? You cannot apply your bullshit 2025 standards to what was going on in the 1970s. So you can stop that shit right now. I'm sick and tired of these people trying to apply modern day standards to history or historical things that happened. So you could just stop that bullshit right now. In fact, I'd love to see you go back in time and call one of them people a human trafficker, just so when they pull out their cult single action army. Yeah, I'd love to see that. I'd really love to see that. But anyway, that has been challenged by other scholarship. I honestly don't care. But these catalogs emerged as more U.S. women were entering the workforce and earning their own money. Some men sought wives abroad who they believed would embody more traditional values, prioritizing domestic work and devoting themselves to men and children. Over the next few decades, large numbers of stable, well-paying factory jobs disappeared, further challenging some men's views of themselves as breadwinners. By 2010, the catalog system had moved online and expanded into a global industry that generated $2 billion per year. Today, it takes many forms. Most of the industry is online with email that chat correspondence that charges men but not women. Some agencies provide in-person tours for male clients, and there are higher-end, more personalized matchmaking services as well. What was once stigmatized has become more normalized through reality television. God damn it. TLC's hit series 90 Day Fiancé, which came on air in 2014, has transformed international dating into a lucrative entertainment franchise. First of all, 90 Day Fiancé has turned international dating into an absolute joke. In the beginning, it wasn't so bad, but what they started doing was they started trying to sensationalize it by picking the craziest and worst couples that they could possibly find. No Neck Ed and Rosemary Vega, that was the perfect example. Here you got this white dude who's like fucking 5'0" and lying to this Filipina who's taller than him about his height. The guy had Klippel-Feil syndrome, so he had no neck. His name was No Neck Ed. And basically, he flew to the Philippines to meet this chick. She's a single mom, of course, because in the Philippines, them Filipinas, they get started real early. So she's a younger single mom. No Neck Ed came out of a relationship. He already had a daughter. This dude is sleeping on the floor in her house with rats. And the father is like silent on the whole thing because over there in the Philippines, the women do anything they want. They do everything they want. That's the reason why they're living in poverty over there. But it's a matriarchy. It's impoverished. This dude was literally sleeping on the floor with rats. There was a rat there. And the rat looked sickly. The rat looked scared, like he was about to die. The rat looked sickly. The rat looked like he didn't even know whether to run or to just lay there and just die. Like, I swear to God, if you watch that series, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's No Neck Ed and Rosemary Vega. It was terrible. It was just terrible. Like, I'm like, why would you put this on television? The whole time, what 90 Day Fiancé was doing was it was making fun of the men. Then, at one point, there was this white dude, and he met this Spanish woman. I think she was Brazilian. I forget what her name was. and she was just a mess. Like she looked like, I mean, she was a mess. And she was funny though. Like when she met him at the airport, oh hi, why you no buy me flowers? You know, like she was funny though. And the show was a mess. And they were making fun of the men. Now, the average one of these absolute real life relationships is nothing like what it was on 90 Day Fiance. But they did it to be funny. They did it to make it a comedy. And they basically did it to make fun of the men. That's what they did. They did it to make the men look like losers. But the reality is, men have been doing this for a very, very long time. And these men have been finding happiness. They've been getting wives. They've been having families. And they've been having a good time. But now it's shifted into a negative because of social media. 90 Day Fiance, shows that basically try to paint the men as bad guys and predators because they're able to get wives that they can control instead of getting a wife here, one of these feminist strags who's likely to divorce you and take half your shit and send you spiraling into madness. They would rather see that than to have you go over there and find a wife who's half your age or a third your age. And it's an even, how should I say, it's an even benefit. Both people are mutually benefiting. The guy may be older, but he's getting a young wife capable of having healthy children. Meanwhile, these dudes here are getting these older women who are having children in their 30s and 40s. These kids are coming out autistic, and then you've got the president trying to blame Tylenol for it. It's like, come on, dude, we know better than that. Come on, seriously? But anyway, and what's funny is older men have been putting healthy babies into women for centuries. Meanwhile, what hasn't happened is you never had women waiting this long to have children. And now that they are, now that you're seeing all these birth defects, stillbirths, autism, you're seeing all these rates of birth problems rising. And you got a president who stands on television and tries to say it's acetaminophen. And he can't even pronounce acetaminophen. It's pathetic. But anyway, the show and its numerous spin-off show couples navigating the K-1 visa process, which gives 90 days to marry after a partner enters the country. If the wedding is called off, the foreign fiancé or fiancée must return to their country of origin. Many of the featured couples met randomly in person. A significant number, however, connected through online dating or language learning sites. Numerous couples' storylines highlight family and friends of the American partner who question a girlfriend or boyfriend's motives, accusing them of faking love for financial gain and access to a green card. Audiences might watch the show for drama or love stories, but the underlying themes mirror what I've seen in the field: relationships shaped by economic inequality and migration, with women often exchanging emotional, domestic, and sexual labor in return for financial stability. Yeah, okay, that very well might be true, but I also want you to think about situations like the one you have in Ukraine. When you have war, first of all, this is the bottom line. Just as I pointed out, men are always going to be able to work. Men tend to have higher marriage rates than women do. Men are more likely to be married than women. That's like a sociological fact. But I want you to think about the fact that when you have wars in other countries, and America is good for starting wars in other countries, when you have wars in other countries and a lot of men get killed off, what you have is a lot of young women who are growing up and there are no men for them. So they tend to do things just like what they said in the story about the frontier brides. Think about Ukraine. We have no idea how many Ukrainian men are lying dead tonight. We have no idea. We have no idea how many Russian men are lying dead tonight. We have no idea how many of these people have died. Ukraine hasn't shown me any numbers. Russia hasn't shown me any numbers. from what I had heard, they were cremating bodies in the battlefield. Think about countries like Russia, Ukraine, Moldova, Belarus, because we boycotted Belarus. Like when they come on the Olympics, these scumbags don't even show their flag, and I'm like, what is this? It's like you people are so pathetic that you can't even allow these people to compete in a game. If I were them, I wouldn't compete. There's no point. I would have my own games and you wouldn't be invited. Like, that's just stupid. These people coming over there in the spirit of athleticism and you're not showing their flag? And I brought that up to one of my dumbass liberal uncles. And he's, oh yeah, well, that's just too bad. I'm like, wait a minute. These people from Belarus are just competing. Even if it was the Russians competing. How are you not going to show their flag? If they win or whether they don't win, you're supposed to treat them equally. And these are the same people who, as soon as they feel like they're discriminated against, they want to start screaming about racism. And they're the first ones to do it to somebody else. You're stupid. And I hope you hear this, you moron. You're stupid. But anyway, as I was saying, there's a lot of women. Moldova, Belarus, Russia. You know, I've traveled the world, so I know all of this stuff. But there's a lot of women in the world, and they have no husbands. And the male to female ratios are so off that the females outnumber the men, like damn near, in some cases, 3-1. And especially after a war. So my thing is, yeah, there's going to be a lot of the passport bros are in the catbird seat. The passport bros. If you've got your passport, you don't even, at this point, you really don't have to have your passport. They're bringing us all these women here as refugees. There's more opportunity than you can even imagine. So let's say you do have your passport and you do go over to these other countries. You got Dominican Republic, you got Brazil, you got Colombia, you got Ukraine. Well, you're not going there. That's dangerous. Ukraine, Russia, Moldova, Belarus, Poland. I know Polish girls that are taller than me or as tall as me. I'm 6'6". I know Polish chicks that are taller than me. Like, you remember Deuce Bigelow when he was walking around with that tall woman? That's what I'm talking about. And I'm like, Jesus, where did they grow you? It's like they grew you in a tube on one of those sci-fi movies like Demolition Man. Like, where the hell did they grow your ass? But man, the women are outnumbering the men. So it's obvious that they're looking for opportunity. When the passport bro, and you'll hear that if you hear some of these passport bros talk, when they go to these countries, some of them are going to Russia, some have gone to Ukraine, some have gone to Poland. Those are countries I'm not going to. But some have gone to the Czech Republic. Some have gone to, what are those places? Belarus. Some of them have gone to parts of Europe. There's untold numbers of women who have no potential husbands because the numbers are so out of whack, especially after wartime. So my thinking is, all you got to have is your passport, and you just said, America only has 350 million people, right? So if you assume that even half of those were men, or males, we should say, let's say it was only 150 million men, right? When you break that down and then you compare, let's say 150 million men, there are countries out there where you're literally talking about more than 2 billion women. When you add India, China, Southeast Asia together, there's basically more than 2 billion women over there. And then when you add in Europe, there's even more. It probably comes out to about 3 billion women out there. the numbers are on your side. All you got to do is get your passport. So let's see. It says, over the next few decades, large numbers of stable, well-paying factory jobs disappeared, further challenging some men's views of themselves as breadwinners. I think I already read that part. Let me skip down. Let's see. Audience. Okay, I think I already did that. In recent years, the mail-order bride industry has gotten a cultural revamp, with younger and more diverse men who identify as passport bros. The crowd is typically younger than men, participating in the commercial international dating industry and more likely to identify as men of color. Okay, now we're talking. Passport bros are black men who are searching abroad for relationships. These men are less likely to pay for formal dating and introduction services. They travel on their own using free dating apps such as Tinder to meet local women, mostly in Colombia, Brazil, and the Dominican Republic. Passport bros say they travel abroad to meet women who are more traditional than the ones they meet at home. Many of the American men I interviewed between 2010 and 2022 talked about Western women as too focused on career. Yeah, that's changing quick, isn't it? Which challenged their idea of themselves as financial providers. Similarly, my research in Ukraine, Colombia, and Philippines shows that many men using international dating services are motivated by more than just love or cultural curiosity. They are responding to a changing world in which women's financial independence has challenged traditional male roles. Fucking goddamn thing keeps moving. All right, wait. Hold on 1 second. I got to figure out where I was. They are responding to a changing world in which women's financial independence has challenged traditional male roles. For some, traveling abroad is a way to reassert control and to find relationships that reaffirm a sense of masculine identity. In my interviews, American men looking abroad talked about feeling empowered and having choices while being ignored in the U.S. dating market. Some recognize that their relative wealth is the cause of this. As one man on a romance tour in Ukraine told me in 2012, I am here to exchange my financial stability for some Ukrainian woman's youth and beauty. And that's what it really comes down to. I am here to exchange my financial stability for some Ukrainian woman's youth and beauty. And I am okay with that. That right there is what this is all about. These men have reached careers and ages, and they're not happy with the crop of women here that they have to pick from. So they're willing to work and to offer financial stability, and they're trying to get younger wives to have healthy children and, to cook and clean the house and to occasionally have sex with. So he's okay with that. And that's basically what it really comes down to. I don't know why this is so complicated. Okay, it says appeal of tradition. Together, many of these daters illustrate the global pattern I've seen across my years of fieldwork. Anxiety fuels a longing for traditionalism. What appears to be a return to the past is in reality an adaptation to the present. The romance tours, the 90-Day Fiancé phenomenon, and the Passport Bros speak to how people use relationships to navigate the economic instability of the modern world. Gender roles become a way to reestablish order and identity. In the past 2 decades, rising inflation, stagnant wages, housing shortages have left many people, especially younger generations, feeling economically trapped. The COVID-19 pandemic deepened these inequalities, forcing millions out of the workforce and amplifying the strain of unpaid caregiving, particularly for women. In times of uncertainty, societies often retreat to familiar narratives. Traditional gender roles offer an illusion of stability and order, even if they reinforce inequality. The fantasy of the dependable male provider and the nurturing homemaker resurfaces because it seems to resolve anxieties that the modern economy has made harder to bear. As a sociologist, I study these dynamics not just to understand dating trends, but to trace how societies reproduce inequality through intimacy. Until our society addresses stagnant wages, which will never happen, let me tell you something. Wages are about to get more stagnant. And we already see it because of AI. We see that a lot of these middle-level management people, these white-collar workers, are losing their fucking jobs. Now, in my position, I have about 10 years left till retirement, and then I'm gone. Right now, I'm setting myself up, setting up investments, setting up my properties to sustain me when I become an old man and I can no longer work. I was in Wendy's. I saw this old guy, and it looked like he had a broke hip. And this guy comes in walking sideways, and he's hobbling to get his food from the counter to his table. And I'm thinking to myself, I got to make sure that that's not me when I grow up. I need to make sure I'm on a beach in the Philippines or Thailand, and I got some young wife taking care of me, and all I got to do is look after my kids. But things are about to get really rough. You know how Patrick Bet-David says the future looks bright? Nah, the future looks fucked up. Your future's bright because you're a millionaire. The rest of these people are screwed. So anyway, let's see, where am I? Stagnant wages, rising costs. Of course costs are rising. We're dealing with inflation. Costs are going to keep rising. The erosion of social safety nets. Trump is the first president that I've ever seen to challenge the welfare state. Now, I know Reagan did, but that was before my time. Bill Clinton had welfare to work, but all that did was reinforce the welfare state. We went from less than $10 trillion of debt to now $38 trillion of debt between Clinton, Bush, Obama, and now we're here with Trump, right? Trump had, his spat with the Democrats. They had that government shutdown. But as soon as welfare got threatened and EBT is getting turned off and what was it, Section 8 wasn't going to get their checks. And not only that, the military-industrial complex in this country is a monument to welfare. I know nobody wants to believe it because they want to believe welfare is some minority laying on their back having children in order to get paid from the government. Welfare in this country includes public schools, the military, and the prisons. Corrections offices, soldiers, teachers, police officers, all of them are part of the welfare state. The moment that welfare state got threatened, all of a sudden, Congress got a deal. Wait, we got Democrats breaking with Chuck Schumer to come over and sign. We've got 8 Democrats. We got 10 Democrats coming over to sign. As soon as that welfare state gets threatened, all of a sudden everything changes. Now, had this been the Republicans who were the ones holding out, had this been the Democrats in charge and the Republicans were holding out, just like it happened when Obama was in office, all of a sudden the Republicans start coming out because their constituents start calling them up. Yeah, I didn't get my check. You better make sure I have my check, otherwise something bad's going to happen to you. They're calling up. See, the one thing that a lot of these stupid-ass liberals and these dumb-ass Democrats, because you got to remember, I'm not a Democrat. I'm actually a registered Republican, but I hate both sides because I already see that it's basically 2 wings on the same bird. One of the things you got to understand, and something that these people don't understand, the reason why Trump gets his way and he gets everything done is because the Republican constituency is extraordinarily violent and they are armed. What do I mean by that? Because the first thing you're going to say, the Democrats killed Charlie Kirk and the liberals. No. What we saw on January 6th, that was nothing compared to what the average congressperson is getting threatened with on a daily basis. Did you see Marjorie Taylor Greene resign? Did you see that? You know why she resigned? She's getting threatened every day because she's going against Trump on the Epstein files and she's going against MAGA, or at least they say she's going against him. Trump labeled her, Marjorie Taylor Greene in that video that I showed you. I think I still have that video, so I'll try to sew it in again. Marjorie Taylor Greene was getting threatened. And the one thing that I know about these people, every single one of these AR-15 owners, is that if you threaten a Social Security check, they gonna pull up on you. Ask, what was his name? Congressman Scalise, I believe. Ask him how's his hip doing after that AR-15 round went through it. When these people, if you threaten a Social Security, see, and that's the reason why, you know how Peter Schiff is like, yeah, Social Security is a Ponzi scheme and it's going to collapse. I'm not worried about Social Security. You know why? Because of exactly what I'm saying. You threaten these people Social Security check, they going to pull up on you. They going to pull up on you. And you know exactly what I'm saying. See, the YouTube algorithm might not know what I'm saying, but you know what I'm saying. You threaten a Social Security check, they gonna pull up. You threaten a Section 8 check, they gonna pull up. You threaten their food stamps, their EBT cards, they gonna pull up. You know what I'm saying? You make sure that my Social Security check is in my mailbox. Otherwise, I'm going to have talk with you, boy. That's what I'm talking about. They pull up. See, the rest of these dudes, these gangbangers and these losers, these Crips, these Bloods, these losers, yeah, they pull up on each other. But when you threaten that Social Security check, Congress gets pulled up on. You know what I'm saying? The YouTube algorithm don't know what I'm saying, but you know what I'm saying. Because that's how you got to do it nowadays. You got to say it, but you can't say it. You see what I'm saying? It's like George W. Bush. You see, if you fool me once, you know, I'm a fool. But if you fool me twice, a fool can't be fooled again. You know what I'm saying? See, that's how you got to do it. They talk in code. You have to say it without saying it. Because the algorithm will hear you say it. Next thing you know, you get demonetized. No, you got to say it without saying it. You remember Bruce Lee in the Enter the Dragon? You remember what he said? He said, you have to know the fight to how to fight. You have to fight is the art of fighting without fighting. That's what you got to do. You see what I'm saying? I hope you know what I'm saying because this is what I'm saying. They pull up. January 6th, you know why they're still talking about January 6th? It's because they pulled up. January 6th, they didn't make calls to their Congress people. You know what the liberals do? They got, what is it, the 5 Calls app or some shit, where there's an app that tells you who your congressmen and your representatives are and all that stuff. When they get upset, they get on the 5 Calls app. When the right wingers get upset, if you listen very carefully, you can hear those AR-15s get loaded. When they get their 5 Calls app, it ain't a 5 Calls app. They pull up. They pulled up. That's what I'm saying. If you understand what I'm saying. Because I'm not saying what I'm saying because I'm saying what I'm saying without saying what I'm saying. If you understand what I'm saying. They pull up. Marjorie Taylor Greene was afraid they were going to pull up. Do you understand what I'm saying? I hope you understand what I'm saying because I'm saying what I'm saying without saying what I'm saying. But you understand that I'm saying what I'm saying, even if the YouTube algorithm doesn't understand that I'm saying what I'm saying. Marjorie Taylor Greene thought they were going to pull up. If you think back, they were planning to pull up on the governor of, what was it, Michigan? They were going to kidnap her. When they pulled up January 6th, they went in there to get Nancy Pelosi and to get Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. They pulled up. What did Trump say? Yeah, hang Mike Pence? They pulled up on Mike Pence. Mike Pence's only constitutional job was to authenticate the vote. But that wasn't enough for them. They pulled up on Mike Pence. Now, granted, Secret Service, man, they got fucking weapons and shit you never seen before. They got goddamn assault rifles under their shirt and all this. We know what they got, but we don't know what they got because they haven't showed us what they got. And you're not going to see what they got until it's too late. But these people pulled up on Mike Pence. They pulled up. You see what I'm saying? They pulled up. Marjorie Taylor Greene was afraid they were going to pull up on her. The Michigan governor was afraid they were going to pull up on her because they were going to pull up on her. Nancy Pelosi, oh yeah, well, this is my last year in office. I don't feel like stealing any more money from NVIDIA and doing inside trade. This is my last year. Nancy Pelosi, she's getting out of there. But look what happened to her husband. Her husband was in his house and they pulled up. Now, they didn't pull up with them tools. But the dude had a hammer, for God's sakes. And then the cop opened the door, and this guy's standing there like the Hammer Brothers from Super Mario World. The Hammer Brothers. You know the Hammer Brothers? You be on level, stage 8? And you trying to get past the Hammer Brothers, and they throw like a bunch of hammers at you? This dude pulled up. On Nancy Pelosi's husband, dude pulled up. You threaten these people's Social Security checks, they pull up. You threaten their Section 8 checks, they pull up. You threaten their EBT and their food stamps, they pull up. If you understand what I'm saying. So, bottom line is, economic insecurity is the future. This country right here is going into recession. We're already in recession in several sectors, but the government refuses to ever say it. We are not only in recession, we're in a period of stagflation. And since nobody understands what stagflation is because they don't teach it anymore, stagflation is a period of prolonged GDP losses and a recession in GDP. Here's the problem, though. They're lying about the GDP. What they're doing is they're using consumer spending instead of production. And they're lying about it. They're not even telling you the real numbers. And on top of that, there's underemployment and there's an unemployment problem. And you can see that just by turning on the news. We got people being laid off by freaking AI. But the bigger issue that they don't talk about is that stagflation is caused by poor government programs. And I think it's fair enough to say that between the Trump tariffs and the sanctions and the government shutdown, I'm pretty sure you can put all this together and say, you know what? I think we've had some pretty bad government policies. If you see what I'm saying. So anyway, it says the conversation is an independent nonprofit. Oh, okay. This is the end, actually. So let me just read this one more time. It says, as a sociologist, I study these dynamics not just to understand dating trends, but to trace how societies reproduce inequality through intimacy until our society addresses stagnant wages, rising costs, and the erosion of social safety nets. I believe nostalgia for a clear gendered hierarchy will continue. In this hierarchy, men are guaranteed women's labor, and women hold out hope for economic security, which is often seen as romance. So he's basically saying that romance is the men trying to get food, sex, and a clean house, and the women are holding out for wealthy men. I don't see a problem with that. I really don't. Even if you look in the animal kingdom, there are birds that literally, like the male bird builds a house, a birdhouse, a nest or whatever, and by having the best nest, he gets the better female. Nature's pretty fucking specific. Women are always going to suffer the consequences of reproduction simply because men don't have vaginas, uteruses, or breasts to feed children. It's just that simple. Nature is pretty specific. Nature intended for women to be in the house, in the bear cave, in the nest or whatever, suckling the infants. That's how nature intended it to be. When you try to break free of that, you try to get outside of that, you're going to be punished. It's just that simple. I'm sorry. You can call me a sexist. I don't care. You can call me a misogynist. I don't care. But when you try to break free of nature, you're going to suffer really bad. And that's just the reality. Now, some women have basically said, yeah, I can forego having children. I can forego having a family. And they absolutely regret it later in life. Once they 40, 45, 50, and then they realize, damn, not only am I invisible, you hear them talk about this all the time on Instagram and TikTok. Not only am I invisible to the men who are looking at younger options, but on top of that, I'm barren, I can't have any children. On top of that, now I'm getting hit with financial insecurity that I never imagined I'd get hit with. Now I have a president who's literally leading the war on women and telling me that this degree that I worked for is worthless and it's no longer considered professional. Now I'm in a situation where I'm facing housing insecurity. I can't afford the payments on my Mercedes GLC. I can't afford the payments on my BMW X3. I can't afford the payments on my GLA, my CLA, my CLE. I can't afford those payments anymore. So guess what I have to do? Ladies, are you ready? You know what I got to do? I got to forego the BMW. I got to forego this Mercedes. I got to forego this Audi Q5. And now I have to go over to Hyundai and I have to buy a Hyundai Santa Fe or a Hyundai Tucson. Or now I have to buy a Kia Sorento. Or I've got to buy a Kia Carnival. Or I've got to buy a Kia, what are those things called? EV6. That's what I'm saying. So these bills keep on rising. What's my option? Well, I can get some plastic toys and I can start an OnlyFans. Or, oh wait, let me take my shoes off real quick and I can try to sell pictures of my feet and my legs and I could sell pictures of me in pantyhose. Maybe. But the problem is there's already so much of that, I might not make that much money. I'm definitely going to have to play with myself in front of the camera. That's what it comes down to. So, yeah, you can fight against nature, but you will be destroyed. You might make a couple of dollars, but what good is a couple of dollars? You see Mia Khalifa? Mia Khalifa is a perfect example. She did her scenes, her porn scenes, and now nobody takes her seriously at all. And she's up there angry about it, complaining about it. Oh, well, I just did this, so why is it that I'm blacklisted when I'm trying to get a job? It's like nobody's hiring you, dear. Nobody. The industry might hire you, but that's about it. And only to do exactly what you got blacklisted for. You might make a couple of dollars doing these scenes, but that money is short-lived. It's just that simple. So that's where we are. That's where we are. So you got the president with his U.S. Department of Education leading the war against women. And the men are in the background. The men have pulled away from the table. The women are complaining that the men have pulled away from the table. The women are complaining that the men don't even want to go to the gyms no more because there's women at the gym. And they're accusing the men of being predators and looking at them a certain way and everything. The men have pulled back. The men have said, you know what, I ain't got time for this. I'm leaving. I'm taking my ball and I'm just leaving. And that's it. They're getting their passports. That's what they're doing. These men are getting their passports. And now you've got all these stories. We've got a whole segment of Passport Bro news and Passport Bro stories that's only growing as time goes on. And the women are angry about it, but they ain't nothing they can do about it. Because what we're doing is legal. And I say we because, of course, I'm a Passport Bro extraordinaire. And we're just doing what we're doing. And we're making our money, keeping our money. Do you know how many men I know? I know men at work. I have friends. You know how many men I know who have been driven into madness and basically slavery through divorce? And these men are basically slaves. They have to show up. They have to work. They have to make money. Otherwise, they're going to end up in court again. You could say whatever you want about me, but I can guarantee you a couple of facts. My name is the only name on this house. My name is the only name on my other house. My name is the only name on that Jeep SRT sitting out front. My name is the only name on that Cadillac, electric Cadillac sitting out there. My name is the only name on my bank accounts. My name is the only name on my stock portfolios. My name is the only name on my foundation. Ain't nobody, like, I'm not going to end up like Jeff Bezos, having some chick strip me of my money, half my money, and walk. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. There's no accumulated assets. There's no public, there's none of that bullshit at all. I don't think I would ever make the mistake of getting married in this country. It won't happen. If I got married, it would be in another country. But, you know, we're reaching a point where men don't really have to get married anymore. You can have your children with these women, and you don't even have to marry them. Some of these women are jumping at the chance to have a baby, and they're not smart enough to realize, yeah, you really should get married first, because chances are there's more financial stability just in case something goes wrong. Not only that, but another reason why, and some men are like, oh, why should I get married? Or women are like, why should I get married? Understand something. Life happens. You could be in a car accident and get killed. You could be in an aircraft accident. Airplane, you're flying over to overseas to meet your wife or to meet your husband. The plane can crash into the fucking water. Life happens. Do you know how difficult it is to deal with someone and their assets and their estate if they die and your name's not on that shit? When you get married, yeah, your name's automatically on everything that they got. But can you imagine the problems that you'd go through if you're not married and your significant other dies? In some cases, let's say COVID, you could be a girlfriend. You couldn't even get into that hospital to get to the body. You couldn't even get into the morgue. Who's going to deal with the assets? Who's going to deal with the, what is it called? The estate. A lot of these LGBT couples, they face that problem. That's one of the main things, the reasons why they wanted to get married. And it's kind of funny because you really didn't hear them talk about it in that manner. One of the main reasons they're trying to get married is because if something happens to the boyfriend, the other boyfriend may not have any access to his assets or his estate. So could you imagine you're with somebody for years, a decade maybe, and something happens, that person dies, and you have no access to their assets. You have, like, my stuff, I've got beneficiaries. If I died right now, they get rich. That's, you know, I'm not going to tell them about that because, you know, I don't want anybody having a motive to take my ass out. But if something happens to me right now, there's more than enough money to bury my ass because I think the funeral is about, what, $10,000, $15,000. There's more than enough money to bury me. But they get basically fucking rich. They get to walk into houses that they didn't even know that I had because I don't tell everybody everything I got. I really don't. I don't show everything I got. But they get to walk into this place and they'd be looking up at my ceiling fan like, hey, that's a nice ceiling fan. It's mine now because he's dead. Ha ha. They got my guns. I got a gun collection. They could take that shit and sell it. Each one of my guns is like $2,000. You know, this is my stock portfolios. You know, they get rich. It's like I'm a walking lottery ticket. But could you imagine that you're with somebody and you have no access to their assets at all? Could you imagine that? Those couples can't have children. They can get a child, adopt a child, put their name on a birth certificate, but they can't have blood children. They can't do it. Because, what is it? Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. You know what I'm saying? But the bottom line is, could you imagine you're with somebody for that long and you have no access to their assets or even their body when it comes time to bury them and to put a suit on them and all that? You have no access to it. Their family gets to do all that because you're not family. You're the person that they dated, but you're not family. Could you imagine that? And you should imagine that, because eventually all of us are going to have to bury people. We're going to have to bury our parents, you hope. You're going to have to bury brothers, sisters, cousins. Sometimes you got family members who've alienated themselves from the family. Sometimes you might have an uncle who may have moved to another state. And, his own kids don't talk to him. And you might have to bury him because maybe his brothers and sisters don't talk to him. It might be you. You might be the next of kin. But in some of these situations, you don't have that kind of access. Marriage is, as much as I hate to admit it, marriage is necessary. Marriage does have some benefits. It's got a lot of shortcomings, and it's got a lot of shortfalls, and it has a lot of risk. But in some cases, it might be necessary. But that's the bottom line. So a lot of these men, they want to get a nice young wife, have some fresh, beautiful young wife, and they want to have healthy children, and they want their children to grow older, because, the problem is if you're, 30, 40, 50, you're not going to live to see most of your kids' life. If you're lucky, you'll get to see them turn 30. If you're lucky. Like, if you have a kid at 40, you'll be like, 70 when they're 30? And by that time, they should be self-actualized so that they can drive you to the doctor if you need it. Or they can go get your medicine from Walgreens or some shit. A lot of those services have been replaced by like Uber and DoorDash and all that. Like, if you need some food, you can call somebody, you can get some food delivered right to your front door. But a lot of other things, like, taking you back and forth to the doctor, you got to do Accessoride and all that shit. Like, I have neighbors who have Accessoride. And, but why would you want to do all that when you can have your kid take you, And, there's a reason for these things. And the further we get away from the natural order, the more people are going to suffer. And that's what this is all about. So that's basically all I had to say. I said I wasn't going to make this long. I guess I made it long because, I've got the iPhone 2 terabyte Pro Max 17. So, I can make a video for 10 hours if I want. But I said I wasn't going to make it long. So I'm going to, cut it right here, basically. But, hopefully you got the gist of what I'm talking about.
Know this, Bradley. Are you a real man or not?
Am I wrong for wanting a woman who can't speak English?
I have 6 kids, so if you are a real man and you want me, you have to take them too.
Bitch, you crazy.
I don't cook or clean, and I expect princess treatment from day one.
Time out, time out. Flag on the play, I'm going to Colombia. U.S. has her washed.
Hey, fire crotch. Can I check your temperature with my meat thermometer? American women are too masculine.
I am not settling. If you can't buy a luxury car for me cash, you can't date me.
I am more proud of this passport than the American flag. This is power. Know your worth, boys.
I'm done with these entitled pork and beans American women. The scam has been exposed.
I found love here. It's definitely not for money like most American women. This is real love. Get your passport, my Nick-huz.
To be continued.